I'm ranking 11 beginner whiskeys from total duds to the ultimate hustle. Stick around because the winner is gonna make every snob in the comments lose their mind. Sub for the real talk. 11 Dalwhinnie 15. You know what's worse than bad whiskey? Forgettable whiskey. And Dalwhinnie is the whiskey equivalent of beige wallpaper. Diageo owns this place, and they won't even publish sales numbers. When a company hides the data, you know it's embarrassing. Industry estimates? Under 100,000 cases yearly. Meanwhile, Lagavulin pushes over 300,000. They age at 15 years in bourbon casks that have been refilled 3 or 4 times. At that point, the wood's dead. You're aging whiskey in neutral oak, hoping for a miracle. Pour it, and you get this watery nothingness. It's not offensive, it's just absent. Finish disappears faster than your ex's apology. 55 pounds for liquid anonymity. Don't buy this to drink, buy it to gift the boss you secretly hate. 10. Glenmorangie 10. LVMH, the French luxury empire behind Louis Vuitton, bought this Scottish. 2004. Dropped 300 million pounds on it. First move? Fired the Scottish management. Brought in French marketing people who probably think mash bill is a typo. At 40 pounds retail with 65% gross margins, your bottle costs 14 quid to make. Pure luxury branding tax. They over-distill so aggressively they murder the character. Then age it in 5th or 6th fill casks. Basically squeezing flavor from a stone. High alcohol burn despite only 40%. Hallmark of cheap spirit dressed in expensive marketing. Metallic aftertaste. Gone in 20 seconds. An Amazon reviewer said, tastes like disappointment with a marketing budget. Can't improve on that. 9. Lafroig 10. Prince Charles gave this a royal warrant in '94. Even royalty has bad taste sometimes. Reddit's not pulling punches. Tastes like industrial cleaning supplies. Comedian Rhys Darby called it drinking a campfire mixed with a first aid kit. These aren't exaggerations. Beam Suntory bought it in 2014 and quality nosedived. They claim artisan floor malted, but that's only 20%. 80% comes from industrial Port Ellen maltings. Phenol levels 40 to 43 parts per million. Aggressive iodine, antiseptic, Band-Aid notes. 60-second finish, but it's all hospital disinfectant. No complexity, just chemical warfare. Label says 10-year-old, but batches contain 30% whiskey that's only 8 or 9 years. Legal loophole. $50 to $65 to gargle Listerine and a peat bog. Hard pass for beginners. Enjoyed the video? Smash that like button and sub so you never miss a drop. 8. Tamdu 12. Something wild. EU law doesn't regulate what sherry cask means. No legal definition. So Tamdu uses sherry seasoned casks, regular barrels they dump cheap sherry into for 6 to 12 months, not authentic Spanish bodega casks aged for years. Ian McLeod bought this for $8 million during the recession. Operating on tight margins, so most casks are second or third fill. Flavor extraction drops 60 to 70%. Technical tell, sulfur dioxide residues creating rubber and matchstick notes. That's the signature of poor cask quality. 30-second finish, but flavors fight each other instead of harmonizing. Desperate attempt to cosplay Macallan on community college budget. For beginners, there are better sherry-style options. 7. Aberlour 12. Pernod Ricard owns this. 233,000 cases yearly at 40 pounds, using 3rd and 4th fill casks. They're printing money. After 2000, they cranked bourbon cask ratio from 50 to 70% to cut costs. Reddit whistleblowers confirm quality tanked after 2010. Now here's where I'll be honest. Despite the corporate cost-cutting, this isn't terrible for beginners. It's just adequate. Front-loaded sweetness from caramel coloring, 25-second finish with decent sherry influence. The problem? At this price point, you have better options. But if someone gives you a glass at a party, you won't hate your life.
Corporate mediocrity that works in a pinch. Better for mixin' than sippin' neat. Beginners can do better. 6. Glenfiddich 12. Okay, let's pump the brakes here. Time for some honesty.
Yes, Glenfiddich controls 35% of the market. Yes, they run 28 stills pumping out volume. Yes, they use mostly refill casks and chill filter everything. But here's the thing, 1.3 million cases yearly don't sell by accident. This whiskey succeeds at one specific job, not scaring away beginners. Green apple and pear esters. Clean. Inoffensive. Gone in 20 seconds. Is it exciting? Hell no. Is it technically impressive? Not even close. But will it turn someone off whiskey forever? Also no. Reddit says what you buy when you don't know what you're doing. And that's not entirely wrong. But you know what? Everyone starts somewhere. This is training wheels. And training wheels serve a purpose. Just don't stay on them too long. At $35 to $45. It's an acceptable starting point before you graduate to actual quality. Think of it as whiskey kindergarten. 5. Kilchoman Snake. Deep breath, because this is complicated and I want to be fair. Anthony Wills founded this in 2005. Nearly went bankrupt in 2009. Survived through crowdfunding. Man still works at the distillery every day. Everything the big brand should do, Kilchoman does it. 30% estate-grown barley, owned peat bog, non-chill filtered at 46%, no coloring, 80 to 90-hour fermentation, longest on Islay. First and second fill quality casks, medium heavy viscosity, complex peat, medicinal, barbecue, floral notes dancing together. Sherry brings dark chocolate and raisins. 45 to 60-second finish with beautiful evolution. So what's my hesitation? $56.75 versus Carlisle at 50 pounds. That's craft premium territory, and I need to ask, is 13% more price justified by 15 to 20% higher costs? Look, this is legitimately excellent whiskey from people who genuinely care. But for beginners on a budget, that premium stings. If you've got the cash and want to support real craft, buy this with zero guilt. Quality's there, heart's there. Just wish it was $5 cheaper so I could recommend it without that small voice saying, but Carlisle though. Agree or disagree? Let me know below and hit subscribe to stay in the loop. 4. Redbreast 12. 1887. English merchant bought bulk from Jameson. 1912 called it Redbreast. Sweet story until Pernod Ricard bought everything in 88. Here's my problem. $52 in 2019, $110 in 2024. 111% inflation in 5 years. That's price gouging territory. But damn it, here's where I struggle. Because it actually delivers. Medium rich viscosity. Dried fruit esters from sherry. That creamy Irish pot still texture you can't get anywhere else. Warming spice. 40-second finish with genuine complexity. Mix of malted and unmalted barley creating this unique profile. Pernod's making obscene margins at industrial Middleton sharing Jameson's. They're absolutely overcharging. Fair value $60. But if someone handed you a glass blind, you'd enjoy it. That's the frustrating part. At $60, this would be top 3 material. At $110, I'm conflicted. It's excellent whiskey held hostage by corporate greed. If you find it on sale under $70, grab it. Otherwise, know you're paying a $40 Irish heritage tax. 3. Lagavulin 16. Let me tell you a story. Pre-2010, Lagavulin 16 was the Islay King. Fair price, consistent quality. Earned its reputation through decades of excellence. Then Parks and Rec happened. Ron Swanson made it famous, and Diageo saw dollar signs. Price went from $55 to $155, 181% increase. Production stayed flat. Fermentation cut from 75 hours to 55. Refill cask ratio jumped from 40 to 70%. But here's what critics miss. Underneath the corporate greed,
there's still a very good whiskey struggling to breathe. Peat at 35 parts per million.
Iodine, seaweed, sherry sweetness, 50-second finish. 16 years in oak creates depth even tired cask can't completely erase. Is it as good as pre-2010 batches? No. Is it still better than most Islay offerings? Yes. My honest take, at $70 to $80, this would rank number
2 easily. At $155, it's highway robbery. But when you find it on sale at $90, that's the sweet spot where price meets remaining quality. This is what happens when great whiskey meets corporate exploitation. The bones of excellence remain. Wait for sales. Shop around. Find it under $95 and you'll understand why it was legendary. Pay full retail and you'll just feel cheated. It's still top-tier Islay if you're patient with pricing. 2. Cal Islay 12. All right, here's your reward for sticking through 10 bottles. 6.5 million liters yearly.
largest Islay distillery by capacity. 90% feeds Johnny Walker blends, only 10% bottled as single malt. And here's the beautiful part. Diego doesn't market this. Zero hype, zero celebrity endorsements, zero artificial scarcity. All their budget goes to Lagavulin and Talisker. So Cal Islay just sits there being honest. $50 to $60, standard margins, fair pricing based on actual costs. Reddit discovered this organically, no marketing push, just whiskey nerds sharing the secret. 80% of the way to great Cal Islay at less than 50 pounds.
Beginner-friendly Islay peated Scotch par excellence. Medium light viscosity. Peat at 30 to 35 parts per million. Enough to know it's Islay without overwhelming you. Citrus esters, maritime salt spray. Everything harmonizes. Smoke, fruit, oak working together.
35 to 40-second finish. Elegant, clean, zero off notes. Conservative spirit cuts keep the heart. Consistent cask selection. Non-aggressive chill filtration retains actual mouthfeel. This is what value looks like. $50 to $60 delivers $80 plus experience. Diageo accidentally created the perfect beginner Islay by ignoring it. No frills, no BS, just legitimately good whiskey at honest pricing. This is the bottle you actually buy and keep buying. 1. The Glenlivet 12. Okay, take a breath, because I need to explain why this controversial choice sits at number 1. 1.3 million cases, 15.6 million bottles yearly. Number 1 selling single malt globally. And here's what the whiskey snobs miss. That didn't happen by accident. Is this the best tasting whiskey on this list? No. Cal Islay beats it. Is it the best value? Hell no. Does it use the finest production methods? Not even close. But here's what it does better than anything else. It doesn't scare people away from whiskey. Let me paint you a picture. You're brand new. You walk into a store. Overwhelmed. Confused. Hundreds of bottles. You grab the one you recognize. The one with the most shelf space. The one that feels safe. You get home, pour it. 40% so it's not aggressive. Chill filtered so there's no weird texture to freak you out. Light pear and apple notes your brain recognizes as pleasant. 20-second finish so you're not overwhelmed. It's not challenging. It's not complex. It's not exciting. And that's exactly the point. This whiskey has introduced more people to single malt than any other bottle in history. Millions of people who now love whiskey started here, including probably half the critics. Yes, Pernod Ricard's margins are obscene. Yes, they use exhausted casks and computer-controlled everything. Yes, it's industrial. Yes, better options exist at this price. But you know what? When you're teaching someone to swim, you don't throw them in the deep end. You start in the shallow water. Safe, controlled, boring. The Glenlivet 12 is the shallow end of the whiskey pool, and shallow ends serve a purpose. At $40 to $50, this delivers exactly what beginners need, a non-threatening introduction to single malt that won't make them hate the category forever. Clean, simple, consistent, available everywhere.
Once they finish this bottle, they'll graduate to Cal Isla or Lagavulin or Kilchoman. They'll discover complexity and craft and quality, but they needed training wheels first. This is number one, not because it's the best whiskey. It's not. It's number one because it's the best beginner whiskey. There's a massive difference. It succeeds perfectly at its actual job, being the gentle gateway drug that doesn't slam the door on curious newcomers. 15 million people a year can't all be wrong. They're just at a different stage of the journey than us, and that's okay. Welcome to whiskey. Start here, but don't stay here. Next, gin. Don't miss it. Like, sub, and drop a comment if you're vibing with the content.